Hello, everybody. Stephanie Haney here. Thank you for joining me for this special edition interview for our WKYC platforms. The 2022 NTT IndyCar Series ends this Sunday. It's a very big deal. The final race is happening at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. You'll be able to watch it right here on 3, and it's a very close championship run this season. We do know that our Clevelanders love IndyCar. So to talk with us about this, we're bringing in analyst and former driver himself, James Hinchcliffe. James, thank you so much for being here today.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Now let's talk a little bit about the situation at the top. The top 3 drivers are separated by 20 points. So I guess we're wondering, can you talk to us a little bit about how the scoring works throughout the season and how unusual this is, or if it's typical for it to be this close at the end?
No, it's very atypical. I think this is the closest championship battle that we've had, certainly in the last 20 years since this point system was implemented. And how it works is they've got 54 total points available on a race weekend. There are 50 for the win. There's a point for qualifying pole position, a point for leading a lap, and then 2 points for leading the most laps. So the bonus points can come in play here, but we have mathematical drivers going into this last race that have a shot to win it. Realistically, there's 3, like you said, that are 20 points out from one another, and all of them have a great case for being champion at the end of this race. They've all had incredibly competitive years in what's been the most competitive season in memory. So it's going to be an exciting finale at Laguna. I hope everybody tunes in.
All right, let's talk about those competitors that will be at Laguna. So right now, Will Power, he leads his teammate Joseph Newgarden and also Scott Dixon by 20 points. And then the Indy 500 winner, Marcus Ericsson, is 39 points behind. And then there's also Scott McLaughlin, who is the winner of the September 4th race at Portland. He's 41 points behind. You've been in this since the season began in February, looking at this, tracking everyone's success. So the question is, Will Power is obviously very fast. Can anyone catch him at Laguna?
It's a tough ask. It's a really big ask. Laguna Seca is known as a track that's very difficult to pass on, so that makes qualifying incredibly important. And this year, Will Power has 4 pole positions, which have made him tied for number 1 on the all-time pole win list. So you've got basically the fastest qualifier in the history of the sport going to a track that's notoriously difficult to pass on, and qualifying is key. And he's got the 20-point buffer to both Scott and Joseph, who are tied for second. So it's kind of hard to bet against Will at this point. But at the same time, Penske didn't come test at this track before the race. The Ganassi guys did. So both Scott and Marcus had a chance to test at Laguna Seca. The Penske guys tested at Portland, and it showed. They dominated in Portland, finishing 1-2 with McLaughlin and Power. So it's going to be it's tough to call. It's tough to call. Basically, if Will finishes on the podium, which is what he's done more than anybody so far this season, he's going to take home the title. But anything can happen. All it takes is a yellow fall the wrong way, someone else has a mistake, maybe taking it over on the first lap. And if he's outside the top 10, it really blows it open.
Okay, so when we talk about IndyCar racing, it definitely is very popular here in Cleveland, but that's not existing in a vacuum. I'm wondering what you think about the popularity of F1 racing and if that's had any impact on the people who are interested in IndyCar racing.
You got to think that it has. I mean, I'm a firm believer that, rising tides lift all ships. And with the popularity of Formula One, growing, I think that just exposes more people to open wheel racing. And ultimately, there's a lot of similarities between F1 and IndyCar. And so you got to think that some of those fans are taking notice now of other forms of racing and seeing that IndyCar is, my biased opinion, but there's some good evidence behind it. It's a much more competitive, and the on-track action is a lot more interesting than in Formula One, just because of the dominance of one team over there. You don't see that in IndyCar racing. It's a lot more equal. So I do think that the popularity of Formula One is just going to help IndyCar. It's probably going to help NASCAR as well. I just think it helps racing as a whole.
Well, people who like to see things go fast like to see lots of things go fast, apparently, and it is
exactly
definitely
right.
Resonating, yes, here in Northeast Ohio. Okay, let's talk about some of the past winners. Colton Herta has won the past 2 IndyCar races at Laguna Seca. That was in 2019 and 2021. There was no race in 2020, of course, because of the pandemic. And this is the first time in 3 years that the race will be ending the season. So for the people who are maybe not as familiar, maybe getting into the IndyCar racing for the first time, what is on the line for the racers this Sunday? What does it mean to win at Seneca?
I mean, it's such a cool, iconic racetrack. You know, I think if you talk about Laguna to global race fans, people from whether it's South America, over in Europe, it's one they know of. It's in all the video games, so everybody's heard of it. They know the corkscrew, so it's the history is what makes it so special. And you know, you look at young Colton Herta. He came here, won from pole in his rookie year, won from pole last year, so he's batting 1,000. And it's really funny because his father, Brian Herta, who is also an IndyCar driver, also was magic at this track. He had 3 poles and 2 wins here in his career as well. So something in the family just resonates well with this track. But like I say, it's a very slippery surface, very hard on tires. So to win here, you've got to be really good with your car control because the car's going to move around quite a bit. You got to be able to take care of your Firestone tires over the course of a stint because it's not just about being fast over one lap. You do need to do that, but you also need to be able to make it last over the whole stint. So it's a massively challenging race, very physical for the drivers because there's a lot of fast corners, long, fast, high-speed corners, a lot of G-forces put on the body of these drivers. So it's a challenging one for sure.
Lots on the line. The question is, will Power hang on to that win or will he not? We cannot wait to see it. James, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it. Can you just remind us one more time when people can catch that final IndyCar race on Sunday on 3?
Absolutely. Well, the whole weekend is being broadcast on Peacock. So if you've got Peacock, practice and qualifying will be there Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC, the finale of the NTT IndyCar Championship for 2022. Be there. Tune in and watch it.
All right. Thanks so much, James. We appreciate your time.